So friends, we are starting from our first question, which was, which act of British Parliament abolished the East India Company monopoly over trade in India? First option, Regulating Act, Pitt's India Act, Charter Act of 1813, and none of the above. The answer is Charter Act of 1830. Act of 1830 deprived the company of its monopoly over trade with India, but still enjoyed its monopoly over trade with China and trade in tea. Our second question is, by which of the following act Legislative Council of India received the power to discuss the budget? First option is Indian Council Act 1861, Indian Council Act 1892, Indian Council Act 1909, Indian Council Act 1919. The answer is option number B. The Indian Council Act 1892 increased the functioning of the Legislative Council. Third question is, in which of the following act the provision was made for the establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta? The answer is A. Regulating Act of 1773. The provision for the establishment of Supreme Court at Fort William, Calcutta was made in the Regulating Act of 1773, and Sir Elijah Ampe was the first Chief Justice of that Supreme Court. Fourth question is, by which one of the following acts was the Federal Court in India created? Indian Council Act 1861, B. Government of India Act 1909, Government of India Act 1919, and none of these. The answer is D. The Federal Court in India was established by the Government of India Act 1935. On 1st October 1937, Sir Maurice Goyer was its first Chief Justice. And question number 5, the Federal Court of India was established in which of the following year? 1935, 1937, 1946, yeah, 1947. The answer is B. 1937, the Federal Court was introduced, and Sir Maurice Goyer was the first Chief Justice of that court. Sixth question, in the context of Indian history, the principle of diarchy refers to option A, division of the central legislature into two houses, introduction of double government, that is central and state governments, having two sets of rules, one in London and another in Delhi. D, division of the subjects delegated to the provinces into two categories. The answer is D. Diarchy means which was introduced, the provincial subjects were further divided into reserve and transfer categories. Seventh question, which of the following acts introduced the principle of constitutional autocracy? A option, the Indian Council Act of 1909, the Government of India Act 1919, Government of India Act 1935, या Indian Independence Act 1947. The answer is C. The principle of constitutional autocracy was introduced by the Government of India Act 1935. Eighth question, the Indian legislature was made bicameral for the first time by Indian Council Act 1892, Indian Council Act 1909, the Government of India Act 1919, the Government of India Act 1935. The answer is the Government of India Act 1919. C. Made Indian legislature bicameral for the first time in the Government of India Act 1990. Ninth question, who was the first elected chairman of Constituent Assembly? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, या Dr. S. Radhakrishnan? So the answer is C. Dr. Sachidanand Sinha temporarily chaired the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly, which was held on 9 December 1946. 10th question, the power of the President to issue ordinance is a relic of Government of India Act 1919, Government of India Act 1935, Government of India Act 1909, या Indian Independence Act 1947. तो इसका आंसर होगा बी, द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935 under article 123 is inspired by section 42 of Government of India Act 1935. 11th question, which one of the following acts provided for a federal polity in India? A, Government of India Act 1909, B, Government of India Act 1919, Government of India Act 1935, या Indian Independence Act 1947. इसका आंसर होगा Government of India Act 1935, which was C. The separation of power was made by the Government of India Act 1935, introduced diarchy in the central level. 12th question, which one of the following is not an important and permanent constituent in the constitutional history of India as adopted in the Government of India Act 1935? A written constitution for the country, B, elected representative responsible to the legislature, C, emphasizing a scheme of federation, D, nomination of official members to the legislature. इसका आंसर होगा A, a written constitution for the country was not mentioned in the Government of India Act 1935. The demand of a constitution was accepted in principle by the British government in what is known as the August Offer in 1940, in which the British government concurred that the framing of new constitution should be primarily the responsibility of Indian themselves. So in 1942, Sir Stafford Cripps, a member of the British cabinet, came to India with a draft proposal of the British government on the framing of an independent constitution to be adopted after the World War II. Our 13th question is the proposal for framing of the Constitution of India by an elected constituent assembly was made by A. Simon Commission, B. Government of India Act 1935, C. Cripps Mission, D. British Cabinet Delegation. So our answer is C. The proposal for framing of the Constitution of India after the Second World War by an elected constituent assembly was made by the Cripps Mission, which was came in 1942. Our 14th question, the objective of Ilbert Bill is in reference to colonial rule in India was A. To bring Indians and Europeans at equal status as far as penal jurisdiction of court was concerned, to put a strict restriction on local press because they were considered anti to colonial rules, to conduct administrative service exams in India to encourage Indians to participate in it, या D. To amend the Arms Act for weapon permit to Indians. The answer is A. The Ilbert Bill was introduced in 1883 for British India by Viceroy Ripon, who proposed an amendment to existing laws in the country at the time to allow Indian judges and magistrates the jurisdiction to try British offenders in criminal cases at the district level, something which was not allowed at that time. Our last 15th question was, who gave the idea of a constituent assembly firstly for the formation of constitution for India? A. Swaraj Party in 1934, Congress Party 1936, C. Muslim League 1942, D. All Parties Conference in 1946. इसका आंसर होगा A. The Swaraj Party in its conference at Ranchi in May 1934 presented the policy of Constituent Assembly. It was to be composed of Indian representative elective on the basis of adult suffrage. It was the first occasion when Indians demanded for a Constituent Assembly. Thank you.